Hey, what's going on, everybody? I see people are entering the chat. And to answer your question, King Hebrew, yes, I can make you a moderator. As a matter of fact, I'm going to need quite a few moderators. So if you would like to be a moderator for this, not only this stream, but for this channel, because I'm going to need some. Trust me. Let me know, and I'll make you one. Shout out Rottweiler, Hood Mistress, Reloaded, Victoria, Angie 94565, Robin the Girl Wonder, Tyrese, Annie K, Cayman, Helen Short, Nicole Ali, Pinky, JYB, Gary Grant, DMV. Stay away from them Gators. Althea Christian, The Shadow Assassin, Clutch God. The reason why I'm asking for so many mods is because this is actually the second live stream I've done on this channel. Oh, the Shadow Assassin. If you're asking what I'm talking about, I said being a mod on my channel. But the reason why I need a lot of mods is because one, I don't have that many on this channel. Is on my live stream channel, which is like pretty much backup, just in case something happens to this one. And I've had a pest control problem for the last week or so. And I spell control CONTROLL. Because if any of you have seen the last couple of videos that I did yesterday, where somebody made a fake troll channel of me going around leaving obscene comments all over the place on other people's channels and stuff like that. I got emails from Lisa Cabrera, other subscribers. I even got an email today from True Royal Family where somebody was actually taking video recordings of myself and they were putting up compilation images and having my audio playing over them. And I'm like, and the thing is, I'm not even knowing any of this stuff is happening until people tell me. It's very weird. It's very strange. And speaking of True Royal, there she is right there. What's up, True Royal? But yeah, I've had a pest control problem for the last week or so. I've had stalkers on Twitter creating multiple accounts just to troll me, lying, saying that they're not the ones creating fake accounts when it is them. And they think we dumb, but we're not. It's just, I think you say I got a better IQ than those trolls. Yeah, but it's wild. Like I've never dealt with a troll quite like the one I had dealt with on Twitter. Like they said, basically, if you saw the video yesterday, you saw that they was saying, I'm trying to alert YouTube to let them know about the issues with your channel, but I'm not the one that created the fake Tyrian Rain page. I said, okay, sure. You think I'm dumb? I said, I'm very intelligent and I hate my intelligence being insulted. What's going on, Shy Socks Forever? But yeah, I hope everybody got a chance to flag or report that page for impersonation or whatever you can report them as, because that is definitely not me. And the thing is, the way that I knew it was him, the troll from Twitter, because like I said in the video, the picture that they used as their profile picture on here is my picture from Twitter. And that's the only place where that picture exists. So I know it's them. And then when I clicked on the page and said this page might be restricted or something like that because it's like temporary restriction, I said, yeah, this page, yeah, like even Twitter knows that that page is suspicious. They ain't got no pictures. They had no tweets. They weren't following anybody. But the first person they want to tweet and at is me. And then tried to pull in one of the people who is, I don't know if they subscribe to me, but I know they watch my content. They even try to pull them into some stuff too. It's like it's very strange. After you said, "Do you want me to beat them up?" Now you ain't got to do it. We don't even know who it is. Exactly, Thea Johnson. Can't be black in peace. We can't be black on or offline. But one good thing did happen yesterday. My cell phone bill was $15. That's one good thing about yesterday. My cell phone bill was $15. You're probably wondering, how in the world does your Verizon cell phone bill cost is $15? Well, a couple months ago, I had an issue where somebody had got into my Verizon account and tried to order, I think, like 3 iPhone X's in my name with like 3 different phone numbers, and I could tell it was local because they were all DC numbers, and I was the only one with a Maryland number. I was like, this is not me because I don't own an iPhone. I'm the only one with this account. I'm team Android all day, and I don't know how that happened. So basically, they removed those stuff from that account a couple months ago, and the rest is history. But when they said that my bill was $15, I had to go online to make sure that was legit, and sure enough, it was. It was 15 measly dollars. At first, I'm thinking, am I at the end of my contract? Does that mean I can upgrade? But nah, that wasn't the case. I think that was just them doing that, as a way of saying we're sorry for what happened as an inconvenience, or what could have been an inconvenience to me. But I handled that quick, fast, and in a hurry. What's going on, Bonafide 1970? But yeah, that was one good thing that came out of yesterday. But y'all, this is the first Sunday live stream I have done since my original channel got terminated last year. For those of you who remember, or who are new to the channel, I should say, I used to do a live stream every Sunday at 1 o'clock in the block where the football games would be on. That was sort of our anti-NFL watching block right there. And we would stream for hours. And if I had people on that was with me, like the one LVZ or Lisa Cabrera or Nicole's View, we would go probably almost 6 hours. Like we would be going from like 1 in the afternoon to almost 6 for a whole block during almost the entire NFL season, up until my my channel had got terminated. And those were some fun live streams. I miss doing those. So I think that if my channel can hold up, because they be watching, we're gonna do that again. From the preseason all the way through, hopefully this time, all the way to the Super Bowl and beyond. That's the goal. If y'all haven't hit the like button, make sure you go ahead and do that. But before I actually get started with the stream itself, I want to do my PayPal and Patreon shout outs. Usually I do those in the separate videos, but I said since I have the live stream capability back, I'm gonna do it like this in this format. And what's up to everybody who I haven't seen any, who haven't shouted out yet, who is new and just entering the stream. Welcome. We have quite a few topics to cover today. But before I do that, I have to give the shout outs to the people who are supporting the channel. Okay, shout out, and this is for the month of June. Okay, shout out to James Walker, Audrey Wright, Craig Jarrett, Michael McMillan, Megan Brown, Joe Johnson, and that is it for the month of June. And also the one patron that I did get for the month of June, shout out to Mike Nice. I did get a new patron this month. And if you would like to donate to the channel or become a patron, the links are in the description. The PayPal link is under my email, and the Patreon link is under the PayPal. So it's the second and third link. Or we got Char Willie in the building, and she has posted the link for me in the chat. And you probably will see her posting that quite a bit, just so y'all don't forget. I'm glad you're here too, Marcella. You know what? I appreciate the comments when people leave comments saying, "Man, I'm mad I missed the stream. Hopefully, I can catch the next one." That lets me know that y'all really appreciate when I do these live streams or when I do these videos. Like y'all like when of course, the pre-recorded videos are always fun, but it's always good to interact with your audience in real time. The last stream that I did, it was late, and I had got maybe almost 200 viewers while I was live, and I was surprised I got that many because of the time that I did. And like that live stream started at like 9 o'clock and ran for almost 2 hours, and I was almost at 200 views, so I was kind of shocked. But hopefully we can get back up to today, especially since it's Sunday and it's earlier. That's one of the reasons why I'm doing it early, because I have quite a few topics I'd like to cover. So since we've pretty much got into the motion of everything, let's go ahead and get started with topic number 1. Speaking of people who are pests, Permit Patty. And we're not just going to talk about just Permit Patty, but we're going to talk about her, a couple of other people that have done what she's done, and some other people that have recently done some things that I haven't yet got a chance to talk about. So we are all familiar with Permit Patty. I did a video about her. She basically called the police on this child for selling water in front of the building so she can get money to, take her and her friends and family to Disneyland. No harm, no foul, because her mother had just recently lost her job and she was trying to raise money. So this woman came downstairs, not minding her business as usual. And as y'all saw in the video, I said she was built like a Rubik's Cube. Like I said, have you noticed that a lot of these people that call the cops on people are out of shape? Like they are just bad built body individuals. Anyway, so she called the cops on them. The mother found her, and the funniest thing, like I said, was her hiding behind that wall like she didn't already see her. That's what made it funny. That's what made it hilarious. And the update on that is, of course, she got on to the news and did her whole crying bit saying like she was discriminated against. People have been sending her death threats. People have been sending her hate mail and all of that. Well, you know what? She kind of deserves it. She even went up there and lied and said she pretended to call the cops. But the joke was on her, because a couple of days after she made that lie, the cops that she supposedly pretended to call pulled up those phone records and replayed back everything she was saying on that phone. How it was someone out here selling water without a permit and all kinds of things. Basically, we heard the entire conversation that she had via their phone records. So we knew she was lying. Anybody with a functioning brain knew she was lying. And also the more recent update is that she has resigned at her position as CEO as the person selling those edibles. I don't know. This has to be a white people thing. I don't know how many black people do this, or any black person does this, but sells edibles to pets, to animals. I thought that was usually reserved for human beings. And then on top of that, she's talking about selling water without a permit. Whole time she wasn't even selling her edibles with a permit. She was selling that stuff on a don't ask, don't tell basis. It was right there in her little mission statement. But the good news is that the girl, somebody found out about her story, and they ended up buying the Disneyland tickets for her and her family to go to Disneyland. That leads me into the most recent video that I did this morning about the little boy in Cleveland who has his own lawn mowing business with him and his family, and how he was cutting people's grass and how he accidentally went over to another yard, and he had the cops called on him because apparently, and I can only assume this is a white person or a white couple that called, because he was starting to cut onto their grass. I don't know about you, but if somebody came and cut my grass, I wouldn't call the cops on them. I would thank them and give them a tip, because you saved me some strenuous work. And what I said was so interesting is he's 12 years old, just like Tamir Rice, and Tamir Rice had the cops called on him. Unfortunately, he was killed. And again, in that case, it was another white person who called, as usual. And good thing it was an older woman who was there who pulled out her phone and recorded the person calling. And the first off, what the white person did that made them real stupid is they came outside of their house and called. So that's how we was able to see him. But the good thing about it is that it ended up giving the boy and his family more business. Like, a lot of people have reached out to him. They want them to cut their grass. Even people have donated money so they can get more lawn equipment, or some people took it upon themselves and got lawn equipment for them to help them out. So it backfired fast. And the funniest part was when the reporter said, we want to get a statement from the person that called. They said, we have no comment, because they're embarrassed. What their plan didn't go as planned. It backfired. Then you had Burrito Billy in Oakland, in the Bay Area, calling the cops on this guy because he was eating a burrito on the train. Now, what I didn't mention in that video, because I didn't find out till later, was the person that he called the cops on for eating a burrito on the train was a white guy. It wasn't a black person that was eating a burrito. It wasn't and I'm not trying to sound stereotypical, but it wasn't a quote unquote Hispanic person or a Mexican person eating a burrito. It was another white guy. He called them on for eating a burrito on the train. And when you saw that video, I swear that guy looked real creepy. He was like, excuse me. He said, you're not supposed to be dining on the train. And he actually got up, and like, people was looking at him just cracking up. Like, everybody was just laughing at this guy. I'm like, and he had no shame in doing what he did. He just sat up there and just like, oh, I'm going to go and alert the train conductor or the train security and have them escort him off the train because he's eating. Like, he made it seem like he was threatening somebody's life or about to rob somebody. He was just sitting there eating. I've eaten on the train before, and nobody's called the cops on me. He was just mad because the guy didn't offer him a piece. He probably asked him for a piece of his burrito. The guy said, no, this is mine. You can go and get yours. And he got offended. You know, it don't take much to offend the stain. Yeah, he called him for over a burrito. It was just crazy. Like, the guy who had the burrito, he just got up. He probably was laughing on his, like, I don't think he got off the train. I think he just moved to another part of the train just to not be bothered. And it was crazy because it was a lot of white people that was around him just laughing at this guy in his face. And it was the one white lady that was sitting in front of him, and she was just basically telling the guy in a jokingly way how ridiculous he sounded, which he did. But like I said, he had no shame, and he felt like he did something. I swear, white people feel like they have accomplished something when they call the cops and things go their way. They feel like that is a badge of honor, like they about to go shake hands with 45, and that'll be that. Like, you should have saw how his posture changed in the video. If you haven't seen it, go and look at that video and watch how his posture and demeanor changed when the guy got up and moved to the next part of the train. He felt like he won the Nobel Peace Prize. And now it's another one that just came out, and someone actually emailed me about that, one of my subscribers, where you had, I think it was 2 black men standing outside of a Chili's. Not inside, but outside the Chili's, having a casual conversation. And somebody on the inside, most likely a white person, called the cops on them because they were having a conversation. You heard it correctly. Called the cops on them because they were having a casual conversation. Now, I remember my dad telling me a story about how something happened at his job a few years ago where he was having a conversation with him and a couple of his other black coworkers, and how they were, I think they was on break or something like that. And then all of a sudden, one of the white coworkers just walked over and was like, "Hi guys, what are you talking about?" It was like none of your business. Don't you hate that? Like you might be having a casual conversation with other, black people about whatever, and then in comes Billy, Brad, Becky, Heather, and Louise butting into the conversation, and then all of a sudden the conversation just goes south. That's almost equivalent to when a white person tries to take the lingo of another black person. For example, and I just saw this in a tweet, you had Donald Trump Jr. who made a tweet and used the word lit in the tweet, like how black people use it. And somebody retweeted it and they said, on this day, on this day, June 20, whatever, at this time, the word lit was laid to rest. See, the thing is, a lot of them are so paranoid that somebody or is going to be plotting on them. Trust me when I say black people are not thinking about white people like that. They are that paranoid. I saw that August Dream. Yeah, it was said a theater manager called the cops on a black family. They said the boy got so scared he ended up going to the restroom and he was vomiting. That story was crazy. It was on Willie D's channel. I might look into that and might do a video about that. That was crazy. Yeah, but it all pretty much goes back to them not being able to mind their business. And they have a lot of stuff that they got going on where you would think they wouldn't even have the time to deal with us. They have too many ailments going on. And that theater that I'm talking about, that happened in Philly. Now, what else happened in Philly? That Starbucks situation. Yeah, they just have a problem with minding their business. They always gotta mess with us, but meanwhile, they got mass shooters shooting up newspaper companies and whatnot and refusing to call them terrorists. And for those of you who was wondering, I was nowhere near that building. Annapolis is like over an hour away from me. And where I work at, that's about 2 hours away from me. So I was nowhere near when that Annapolis shooting happened. I was nowhere near that facility. Bobby said the mass poison. Oh, you mean the story I just did about the guy in Germany who had poisoned many of his co-workers? He killed like 21 of them since 2000. And I'm like, they're just now catching this guy. They're just now catching this guy. Y'all let him go all these years, kill all these people, and you didn't think for once that this guy might be suspicious. Like I said in the title, he must have really hated his co-workers to poison him. Most people would just like do the traditional stabbing or the shooting. This guy poisoned his coworkers. He wanted them to die extremely in extreme pain. But let me move on to the next topic. Now, this topic I actually did cover in a live stream because I said it had many layers to it, and looks like I'm gonna have to do updates to this thing in many layers as well. So for those of you who either live in New York, shoot, at this point, the story pretty much made worldwide headlines, especially on social media. There was this 15-year-old boy by the name, well, they called him Junior, but I found out that his real name is Lissandro Guzman Feliz. but they called him Junior. He was the 15-year-old who was brutally murdered inside, well, inside, outside, depending on how you look at it, this bodega in the Bronx. And what made it so brutal is that you actually saw it on surveillance video. You actually saw the act actually happening, and then you actually saw him when he was dying at the hospital. Like, he had to walk to the hospital by himself, bleeding out. And Lovely T did a good job covering this story, because she had to split it up into 2 parts, and I watched the second part today. But that was messed up, like a case of mistaken identity, all because the girlfriend, not his girlfriend, but the girl who claimed that it was him that put out this tape involving her, who wanted to be a little thought, basically said and lied that it was him in the who put the tape out there, because the boyfriend had some similarities to him. But yeah, basically in the surveillance video that was inside the store, he ran into the store and he climbed over the counter and tried to hide from the gang. And I forgot what Lovely T, she said the name of the gang was. It begins with a T. I think it's called the Trentario. Damn, I forgot the name of that gang. It begins with a T. But when they were killing him with knives and machetes, she said that that's what they're known for using. They're not really a gun toting gang. Like, they're not ones to go and just shoot people. They use knives and machetes. Thanks, Kabir. Trentarios. Okay. Yeah. So he ran behind the counter, to try to hide. Now, depending on how you look at it, the owner said that he was hiding him there and he was trying to keep him calm, and that the gang came in and they had saw him. But then other people are saying that the owner tried to shoo him or like push him out of the store because he didn't want no issues. I really don't know which one to believe. So it's all about your perspective on the thing, whether the owner was telling the truth or whether the owner was lying. Because he could be lying to try to save his business. Right now, the bodega shut down. Like, there's nothing out there except candles and posters and teddy bears and flowers and cards and everything like that. It's not in operation right now. So they said the gang came in, they saw him, and then that's when they pulled him out of the store, and then that's when they started stabbing him. The fatal blow was when he got stabbed in the neck, because he got stabbed in other places, but when he got stabbed in the neck, he ran out of the store. And when you get stabbed in certain places, especially when it's an artery, the more adrenaline, the more the blood will flow out. So because there was no pressure applied there, he ended up pretty much bleeding to death. Like, imagine and then, I believe it was all set up, because they said it was some kind of a friend that was calling about $5. And he comes down there, and then all of a sudden this happens. So I think it was a setup. And if there is a friend involved, because they said when the person called Junior, he told his mother he was going downstairs, but they didn't say who it was on the phone. He just said that it was some guy named Jason. Now, for all we know, there may not even be a Jason, or it might be a Jason, but it wasn't who was on the other end of the phone. But to fast forward a little bit, they ended up catching all the guys, all the people that was involved. They think that it might be more, and they said they caught them in Jersey. One of them was even turned in by their own mother. One of them even tried to make an escape to the Dominican Republic. And they ended up catching him, and now they're all in custody right now. I say all of them need to have the book thrown at them. Now, the video that I had recently seen involving the Stephanie, and thank you, Ross James, because I forgot her name, involving Stephanie, who was the girlfriend, the one that pretty much, I think, in my opinion, orchestrated the entire thing, the one in the tape. Somebody found out where she lived. People put out her address and her phone number, but somebody found out where she was staying at. And there was a video where you had this woman dressed in a hoodie like she was a boxer. Like she ran like she was ready to go. Ran up to that girl's house or wherever she was staying at and banged up on the door. She opened up the door and they going at it and everything like that. The woman was about to come up in the house and straight box her ass. She actually got one hit in too. Like when I was looking at the video, she hit her one good time in the face before they closed the door on her. Yeah, they did catch more than the original 5 because they had to get also the person I think that was driving. The ones we saw in the videos were just the ones who actually committed the act, but one of them I believe was also the getaway driver. She did look kind of crackheadish. I'm not even gonna lie, but you know she had that. If she is or she was, you know, they crackheads got that super strength right there. What's going on, the goddess Navi? I had to play that video a couple of times just to see her hit her multiple times. But yeah, she needs to be definitely in custody. And I'm not talking about police protection custody. Now, I think they said that her boyfriend is in police protection as well. The one that her boyfriend. I think the only thing that kept her from getting her butt whooped even more was the other person that was on the other side of the door. I said if she was by herself, oh, that person who was fighting her would have ran up in that house and really did some damage to her. What's going on, Chaz Heron? Now, the transition over to another incident that happened in Pittsburgh with Antoine Rose, we already know about that, but the update came, and I had actually mentioned this with True Royal in her live stream that she had the other day. I think it was on Thursday. So the people actually found out where Michael Rosfeld lives. Like the protesters and whatnot, they found out where he lives. And they went to his house. They had a bunch of signs and posters with Antoine Rose's face on it. They made fake great tombstones and put them all over his house. It looked like a graveyard. It looked like something out of the Thriller video. What's up, Kendra? Hey, DJ Fish Grease is in here. But it looked like a graveyard scene. But the thing that stood out the most was they had this white sheet, and on that sheet it said Black Lives Murder. I said they couldn't. I said that couldn't have been more true if they tried. Yeah, it can't stand. It happened in East Pittsburgh. He was killed by this pig by the name of Michael Rosefeld. And mind you, this Michael Rosefeld guy has a history of harassment and messing with people, especially black people, because he used to work at, I think it was the University of Pittsburgh. One of them schools, them colleges up there. And he got fired back in January. Now he's back. Now he's back to being a cop, but for a actual department. Like just mere months later. And within 2 hours, he shot and killed somebody after being sworn in. And he was, and like I said, Antoine Rose was running away from him. And then I said, that's the ammo that them colonizers need to say, see, that's what he get. He shouldn't have been running away. He shouldn't have been doing this. You know what? They are not the moral compass for anything. That's why I don't listen to the things they say. And that's also why I no longer white-splain anything. And neither should y'all. If y'all come across these trolls, don't argue with them. That's why I just use that block button and I block them. Because they're going to continue to think what they want and say what they want. But yeah, he was only sworn in for a couple of hours. and killed that boy. 17 years old. Shot him 3 times in the back. But they said that his preliminary trial will begin on Friday, the 6th, this coming Friday. But yeah, they went to his house, then they pretty much left what they left right there all around his house. So they pretty much know where he lives, but I highly doubt that he's there now, especially now since people know where he lives. They probably put him in protective custody. On social media, there's trolls everywhere. They are everywhere. I'm like, you know that this guy has a history of doing this, yet you hired him anyway. That just lets you know who they love to hire when it comes to these departments. Exactly, Kendra. No reasoning, no bargaining. It's like talking to a steel wall or talking to a brick wall, and if you was to remove that brick wall, behind it is a wall made of steel. I don't know what's going to come of this. I will not hold my breath. I had made an update video basically expressing just that. I'm not going to hold my breath when it comes to this particular case. If something comes of it, good. If something doesn't, I'm not surprised. Yeah, they found his address. They found where he lived. The only bad thing is he wasn't there. They knew not to put him back into his place of residence. So he could be anywhere in the area, but they know for sure he's most likely not at his house. The next thing I wanted to talk about is this whole Netflix situation in which Monique pretty much was on point. And I didn't doubt that she was. I said, like, she might actually have some truth to it. I said a lot of people were going against Monique because of how she was singing, her tone. And, you know, a lot of people want instant gratification right there. So it's like, where's the proof of it now? She probably didn't have it then, but we have it now. Because the former PR chief or whoever he is for Netflix basically had to step down from his position when he got exposed by his own peers when they said he used the N-word 2 times in 2 different board meetings. Now I remember when Monique was on her talking about this months ago, she mentioned a Jonathan Friedman. That's why the name sounded so familiar to me when I read the article. I said that Jonathan Friedman name sounds so familiar. I'm like, where do I remember hearing that from? And then I remembered that Monique had mentioned his name before in the past, and that's how I was able to remember that name. But yeah, that guy, he said he stepped down, and then when he put in when he wrote his tweet. This is why I'm saying that white people don't know how to genuinely apologize. When he wrote his tweet, he just admitted that what he did was wrong, and that's it. He didn't apologize. He didn't feel bad for what he did. Clearly, he meant it. Because they genuinely do not know how to apologize. That's just like 45. He definitely doesn't know how to apologize. That man does not know how to admit when he is wrong. I don't even have, to be honest, I don't even have Netflix. Any show that I watch that isn't on Netflix, I stream it online from a website that I usually watch my shows from. As a matter of fact, that's how I watched the first episode of season 5 of Power this morning before the rest of the world, which was good, by the way, for those of you who watch Power. But yeah, she was right. Some people may not agree with everything Monique says or does, but she actually called it on this one. Because see, she's had a lot of dirt thrown on her name, so a lot of people would not believe her. And that's what happens when you get blackballed, so to speak. No one's going to believe you. That's like with Corey Feldman when he was trying to tell people in Hollywood and the world how them producers and them directors be getting down with them kid stars. They instantly blackballed him or tried to say he was on drugs and that he didn't know what he was talking about. And now all of this stuff starts to like pop up outside of that Me Too times up BS. I'm talking about people who actually were really assaulted, sexually assaulted, and or raped. Victoria, we're going to get to him. It's a reason why I saved that individual for this live stream and didn't put it into a video. Julius, hold on, Julius, what's your name on Instagram? I said if Corey Feldman does a film like, you know, and I think he is. I think he's trying to do crowdfunding, do crowdfunding because no studio is going to back that. But I said if he did and he was able to cover all his bases, I would pay to watch that because I would be very intrigued to see what he had to say and who he exposed. Because people was trying to ask him, you know, because when he was getting interviews a few months ago about it, they was asking him, so who is going to be in the documentary? And back then, I could see why people were saying, like, well, if he's going to put this out here, why is he going to say like any names? Now, looking at it now, I would have did the same thing he did, and I said one name. Let it be suspenseful. Let it be like, oh, I wasn't expecting that person. Because if you start name dropping, then that could be real iffy. So I would say let it be a surprise for the world to see. Because it may not be the usual suspects, like the people that we already know about. It might be someone we don't know about. The suspense is what will get people to watch it. What's going on, J-Dog? Not daughter of Yahweh's. I moved it up. It was gonna start at 5, but I moved it up to 3. But let me now move on to the next topic, which is Joe Jackson. First off, rest in peace to the patriarch of the Jackson family. And shout out to Angry Man for doing a very good video talking live stream talking about Joe Jackson. It led into another discussion, but it was Joe Jackson was like the focal point of it. And also shout out to the LAR movement. He did a video about him as well. And Lisa Cabrera and Nicole's View and Your World, also known as Harvey Superboy. All the people that spoke about Joe Jackson in the tone that they did. Because let me tell you something right now. Some of these people out here been getting on my nerves, talking bad about this man. Now, we all know that Joe Jackson was the patriarch of the Jackson family. He pretty much birthed a family dynasty. He gave us great acts such as Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson, the Jackson 5, the Jacksons. But what pisses me off is how people have been throwing this man's name through the mud. And you know what's so crazy? When I found out that he was terminally ill, I already knew that it wasn't going to be long before he died. Terminally ill, terminal cancer, and I think it was pancreatic cancer. Oh, I said he ain't got long to go. And he's 89. Yeah. He doesn't have long to go. And I already knew that it wouldn't be long before we got news that he passed. That's why it didn't catch me by surprise. And what's so interesting is that we just went past the anniversary of his son's death. You know, his son, Michael, passed away June 25th, 2009. And now Joe Jackson dies June 27, 2018, 9 years apart. I said that's like very, very strange. It's very weird. A lot of people were saying, this is where a lot of people were going based off of how Joe Jackson was. They were going based off of the movie, the Jackson's American Dream movie, which is probably one of the best biopics ever made. It's a very long movie, but they covered pretty much their bases. But they added the element of Joe Jackson being this excessive, abusive father. I'm not going to say husband because he didn't hit Catherine. Of being this abusive father to his kids just for the heck of it. I'm like, no, he was just a disciplinarian. As a matter of fact, if we had more Joe Jacksons in the world today, or especially in the US of A, we wouldn't have a lot of these kids of this generation running around acting like they are now. Nowadays, just even yelling at your kid in a disciplinarian tone would be considered child abuse. They've made it a way where they do not want black men to discipline their kids. If you do, they will get on the phone and they will call CPS on you. Meanwhile, you got people like Woody Allen sleeping with his stepdaughter. And nobody called anybody on him. And it's crazy because it's coming full circle. They dragged Michael's name through the mud for decades. Decades. The whole child molestation thing that kicked off in 1993, that wasn't the beginning of the scandals that were surrounding him. The scandals, in my opinion, started to surround him after he had that incident with that Pepsi commercial where his scalp got burned. And then that's when the media really started to surround and hound him. Because then, of course, his skin started getting lighter and people said, oh, he's bleaching his skin. But it turned out in the autopsy report he had vitiligo. So he did that to even out his skin tone. And I've actually seen pictures to prove that Michael had vitiligo. As a matter of fact, a lot of you may not know, but when he performed, what's going on, BGS? You know what, BGS? I'm just going to go ahead and make you a mod because I already know you can catch him. But if y'all don't know, when he performed Billie Jean for the first time at the Motown 25 special back in the early 80s, the reason he wore that glove wasn't because of just a fashion statement. It was because he started to get the patchy spots on his hands. He was doing that to hide it. But they said he was like, let's make this glove glittery to make it a fashion statement to kind of match with the rest of the outfit, because he had the glitter jacket, the glitter shirt, and the glitter socks. A lot of people didn't know that. Then they were saying he was collecting the Elephant Man's bones. Then they said for him to stay younger, he used to sleep in a hyperbaric chamber. And you know what's so crazy? A lot of the stuff that I'm talking about happened before I was born, but because I'm a Michael Jackson fan, I've heard these things. As a matter of fact, if you watch his Leave Me Alone video that came out in 1989 or 88, a lot of the stuff that's covered in there, you got to really pay attention to it. He throws out images of stuff that they were talking about. One of the obvious ones was when they had a picture of a nose and a scalpel because they were saying about his nose jobs, which, by the way, he got his first one because he actually broke his nose when he fell on stage. And I actually started to notice his face started to change, like in complexion, when he did the "We Are the World" video. That's when I started to notice that his face started to get a little bit lighter. It wasn't like to the point where it was by the time he came out with Bad, but you can see, because what he was doing was he was throwing on makeup, heavy makeup, to cover the spots, but it just got worse. So that's when he started throwing on skin evening cream, which they called it, which is basically skin bleaching cream. And then that's how he got lighter. Because if you also look at images too, when he got even lighter, if you looked at his legs, which is also another reason why he wore those high socks, if you looked around his ankles, you could see the dark spots still there from when he was fully brown. You got to like really do your due diligence and your research when it comes to things like this. That's why I don't follow mainstream media, especially people like TMZ, anything like that, because they'll put out anything for a check. If it's a troll in here, make sure y'all the mods make sure y'all get them out of there. That's what I heard too, Raj James. I actually did hear that his actual real voice was like deep, and it wasn't the high voice that he always used to talk with. And you can tell that it was because if you listen to him sing, in some parts he could actually sing in a low tone. Now I don't know anybody who could sing like that and their voice be extremely like high all the time, unless you're probably Michelet, but she didn't really sing in a low tone. But yeah, back to Joseph Jackson. Yeah, I already knew they was gonna go in on him, and I did see what Bette Midler had put out there, and man, they went in on her hard, and rightfully so. I'm like, this guy gave you the greatest entertainer the world has ever known. Y'all claim to be fans of Michael Jackson. To be quite honest, some of them weren't even fans of him. Some of them hated Michael Jackson with a passion because he gained what they would consider to be too much fame. This is the same. Let me tell y'all something right now. Michael Jackson had a lot of brass balls. And let me tell you what I mean. This is the guy who, before the release of his Invincible album, he knew he had an album coming out, got on stage in front of hundreds, maybe thousands of people, and called out the former president of Sony, Tommy Mottola, a Jew, and called him the devil. Also, mind you, at that same time, or around that same time, he owned over 50% of Sony's publishing, meaning that every artist that came through that door that signed a contract with Sony and they released an album, he got a percentage of that from the sales. Whenever they went on tour, he got a percentage of that. He already had the Beatles catalog, which was worth millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. Who do you think helped influence Michael's decisions in a lot of that, or a lot of business decisions? I would like to think that Joe Jackson had something to do with that, especially since Joe Jackson was a musician himself. So he knew how a lot of this stuff worked. He knew what was good for his sons and his daughters. Like someone said in the chat, he had his flaws. We all do. But that doesn't take away from the fact that that man was a good father to them kids. I remember watching this. It was a documentary called Michael Jackson's Private Home Videos. And this is back in the early 90s, where he had his entire family on the Neverland Ranch. And he had his mother and his father there. And they went into some kind of theater or something like that to be a part of this little magic show that Michael had put on for his cousins and his nieces and nephews. When they walked out of there, he surprised his father, Joe Jackson, with a boat. Now, does that sound like somebody who hates their dad will go out and spend their hard-earned money and get their father a boat? And it wasn't just any type of boat. It was almost a yacht-sized boat. Does that sound like somebody that hates their dad? What's going on, Sonny? No, that doesn't sound like somebody that hates their dad. He may have been strict, but guess what you can say? None of his family none of his daughters became prostitutes. None of his sons were in gangs. None of his sons were strung out on drugs. He took a family out of Gary, Indiana during the 60s, took them to Hollywood, and they became superstars, megastars, became multi-millionaires. In Michael's case, damn near a billionaire. Shoot, to be honest, I think Michael was at $1 billion status, but we would never know. Exactly, Robin. None of them in jail. Now, if you do want to talk about a father who was problematic, look no further than Robert Louis DeBarge Sr. Now, that was a bad father. That man beat his wife, beat his kids, molested a couple of them, and attributed to the reason why a good chunk of the DeBarge family ended up on drugs. One of them, who I think was Bobby DeBarge or Robert DeBarge Jr., ended up on drugs in jail and had AIDS and died from AIDS, and was a staunch racist. Robert DeBarge Sr. was a white Frenchman. Spirit of Justice, I don't even want to know or begin to think about what went on in that household. But if they want to do a movie about the DeBarge family, they need to cover all of the stuff that he done. I said, if they want to go in and over dramatize how Joe Jackson was in the Jackson's American Dream film, they need to go in and tell the truth about what happened in that DeBarge household. Now like I said, that's a person who was problematic. Like I said, the DeBarge family, very successful, very talented. They could all sing, but all their problems go straight back to that father. But they will never, ever drag him through the mud. But let me move from that. Now, let me move to the topic that a lot of people wanted me to talk about, which is Lee Daniels and Dame Dash. So, or as I like to call him, Leela Daniels. So, I'm going to just put it out there. Leela Daniels is nothing but a money-grubbing extortionist. That's all he is. He is a welfare queen. And I can call him a queen because that's what I'm sure he prefers to be called. There's nothing king-like about him. Lee Daniels is not only a waste of sperm, a waste of melanin, but he's also a waste of what it is to be called a man. And that's me just scratching the surface. I could go further, but I'm gonna stop right there. So basically what happened was Dame Dash a few years ago loaned Lee Daniels some money to get Precious made. I believe it was $2 million that he loaned Lee Daniels to get Precious made. It was a loan, meaning the loan has to be paid back. Mind you, Precious came out in 2009. It is now 2018. The movie Precious was made. It got critical acclaim. Monique won an Oscar, and I believe it won. I think it also won an Oscar for Best Adapted Screenplay. So it won 2 Oscars. Fast forward to 2015. A show on Fox called Empire premieres. Lee Daniels is attached to that show. The show is a runaway hit. The ratings bring in millions every week, and it kept going up and up and up. I'm almost certain that Lee Daniels got a check, multiple checks from that. Fast forward to 2016 or 17, I should say. Lee Daniels comes up with another show on Fox called Star that does just as good as Empire. That's another few checks that Lee Daniels gets for being a producer on the show. And by the way, if y'all don't know, producers actually get paid more than directors. That's something I actually learned years ago when I used to be a part of this acting, I guess you could say acting school. So you would think that between 2009 and 2018, with all the stuff that he's done between then and now, he's probably done some other things too. Also, oh yeah, I forgot, The Butler. That was his movie as well. He got money from that too. So you would think that between now and then he would have well over $2 million. And he should. Like, if we was to pull up Lee Daniels' net worth right now, I'm sure it's well over $2 million. Let me go and look that up. Lee Daniels has a net worth of $20 million. You owe Dame Dash $2 million. That's not going to hurt your net worth at all. I'm sure you could just go to the bank and pull that right on out and boom, give it to him. And it wouldn't hurt. Shoot, you can even write that off on your taxes if you want to as a business transaction. Now, let's fast forward to recently. Dame Dash goes out and he confronts Lee Daniels at a Diana Ross concert. Now, what someone pointed out to me, which made it even funnier, was that Diana Ross was singing out the song "Reach Out and Touch Somebody's Hand." That's what made it so That's what made it so funny. She was singing "Reach Out and Touch Somebody's Hand," and that's exactly what Dame Dash did. He reached out and he touched Lee Daniels and was like, "Look, you owe me the $2 million for Precious." And if you can, like, you can tell Dame was mad because over all the noise, you could hear him talking or yelling at Lee. And Lee Daniels up there, standing up there wearing that green blanket, wearing capes and whatnot. And then a couple days later, after the video goes viral, Lee Daniels sits down with, I don't know who interviewed, I think that was TMZ, somebody from TMZ, saying he's going to pay Dame Dash back. Now, before I get into what pisses me off about this whole thing, Lee Daniels, why did it take Dame Dash to confront you at a Diana Ross concert for you to want to pay up? I'll tell you why. Because somebody recorded it happening. And now everyone has seen it. But I've heard for years that Lee Daniels wasn't shit. I mean, Monique said it quite often, and people kind of like blew her off. Remember when he said he created the show Star because he didn't feel that white people was getting some kind of attention or praise or something like that? I said, excuse me? Oh yeah, Julius, how could I forget? He gave us that trash movie Monsters Ball back in the early 2000s. The one Halle Berry won her Oscar for doing that raunchy scene with Billy Bob Thornton, which I'm sure he had no problem writing into the script. But yeah, I never watched Monsters Ball either, and I don't think I ever could. But yeah, he sat down with TMZ and was saying that he's going to pay Dame Dash back. But let me tell you the part that really pissed me off. When he was talking to the interviewer, he basically said in so many words that Dame Dash was hurting for money in so many words. I forgot what he said. I said, so wait a minute, time out. You got a loan from Dame Dash of $2 million back in 2008, 2009, whenever you started doing pressures. He loaned you that money out of the kindness of his heart because y'all had worked on other things before. And you probably promised to pay him back, what you should have done. But now you're going to go out here and lie on this man and make it seem like he's a charity case by saying he's hurting for that money as if Dame Dash is broke. Hold on. While we're talking about that, let's look up Dame Dash's net worth. Okay, based on what I saw, it said Dame Dash has a net worth of about $2 million. But they said at one point, at the height of his career, it was 50 million. And it's probably because people was being shady with his money. But like Lee Daniels. But the fact that he sat up there and made Dame Dash look like he was a charity case was messed up. If you owe that man money, pay up. Like, I don't get it. Like that Lee Daniels is a snake. Okay, he fits right into the cloth of the Hollywood fabric. Now we know that Lee Daniels would not do this to a white person, especially a white Jewish person. We know he wouldn't do it because they would have kicked him out on his butt the minute he tried to double cross them. It would be over. They would probably find a way to make him quote unquote disappear. The nerve of that man. I'm sorry, of him. Because like I said, I can't even call him a man. I can't. He's not worthy of the title of being a man. No man who is a true man should not do what he did and feel that it's okay to do what he did. And y'all should have saw the way he was sitting up in that interview. Like he was sitting up there with his legs crossed and all, and that little fruity smile that he always be wearing. It almost looks sinister. I know, Sonny. I know he's sleeping with a white guy. And also, speaking of that, remember when he has said that, because he has a white partner and he has some kids, and talking about how he's going to raise them not to see color. I said the ingrained coonism is real here. And he said that with a straight face, no pun intended on his part. Oh yeah, John Boy, I'm almost certain he hates black women because you know why? Because he wishes he was one. He has to be one of the biggest puppets in Hollywood right now. Has to be. What I like about Dame Dash is that he's not afraid to call people out when he needs to. And when he calls them out, he's not going to put you on blast on social media. He's going to run up on you like he did Leela Daniels and be like, look, you owe me such and such. You need to pay up. If Dame Dash did not do that, Lee Daniels would not pay that money. And I wonder, has he paid the money yet? Because this happened a couple days ago. And see, the thing is, the reason why he said what he said on TMZ, trying to make it seem like Dame Dash is a charity case, is because it takes the heat off of him because he's feeling the pressure. And then people going to be look back, well, you got a point. We haven't seen Dame Dash really do anything productive in years. Maybe he is starving for money. Yeah, exactly, Queen Divinity. This thing that Dame Dash is doing with Lee Daniels is not new. I've heard that they've been going at it for years now. This is not a new phenomenon. They've been going back and forth for years. More like just back because Lee just he's not paying. But he was like, you know what? This is it. I'm gonna put you on blast right now. He should have served him. He should have gave him a subpoena and say, I'll see you in court. You got a point there, Black Ranger. It probably is with interest now because he's been sitting on this 2 mil for the last 9 years. He should have just paid up when he had it. If white people don't do business with Lee Daniels, then he has every bit. He has then good. Lee Daniels is the type of person that will burn every type of bridge with a black person possible, but keep that old raggedy one up with white people. That one could be getting ready to collapse, and he'll still hold and he'll still walk the bridge. Let's just put it this way. Echo Afan, I hope I'm pronouncing your name. I'm probably messing it all up. If this was Dame Dash back in the day, he probably would have pulled up on Lee Daniels and really went in on him. What's up, BJ? He probably would have really went in on him. Like, he did keep it classy. He really kept it as classy as he possibly could. And Dark Void, and he's probably proud of that too. Lee Daniels strikes me as the type of person to be proud to be a puppet. And if they dare pull out them scissors to cut them strings, he would probably scream like Mariah Carey. Oh, I got it correct. Good. Because I was getting ready to call you Eco. Well, it seems to me like Dame Dash has been helping out quite a few people and they not helping them back. That's messed up. If that's what you say about Kevin Hart is true, that's messed up if Kevin Hart hasn't paid it back, and Kevin Hart has a net worth way higher than Lee Daniels. I just can't get over the fact that he had on a green tablecloth. If y'all saw that video, that's exactly what it looked like. It looked like a green tablecloth. And that's what I respect about Dame Dash. A lot of people don't give him credit. He's helped a lot of black people with financial situations. But see, That's probably why his net worth has constantly gone down, because he's helped a lot of people. The same thing happened to MC Hammer. Hammer was at one point at the top of his game on the financial side, but when he was helping out people, especially black people, his net worth started to go down and decline. BJ said Lee Scamules is his new name. Have you been watching Lovely T? Because that's the first place I heard someone say Lee Scamules. But it's just messed up because it makes it hard for you to trust anybody. Yeah, see, what they're doing is they're taking advantage of Dame's niceness or his kindness for weakness. So it's probably like he probably loaned people some money back in the day. Somebody was talking in circles and say, "Hey, look, Dame Dash loaned me this amount of money, and he said I didn't have to pay it back until this amount of time, but I'm not going to really pay him. Maybe we should go over there and do the same thing." And he'll say yes. They're basically treating him as if he's an ATM. African guy that said Lee Scamules was never for his black son. When his son came to him saying that he wants to go to an all-black school. That sounds about right. This is the same guy that said he wanted to raise his kids not to see color. But guess what, Leela Daniels? Your kids will get that treatment. It don't matter if you are their dad, especially a dad like yourself. They will begin. They shoot. They'll call. On speaking of wake-up calls, he's another one. Lee Daniels needs his wake-up call. Don't know when, don't know how, don't know who, but it just needs to happen. But yeah, Lee Daniels, he's a con artist. Point blank, period. That got exposed, but at the end of the day, Monique was one of the first ones to. I wouldn't say she was the first one, but she was one of the ones that was very vocal about it. Dolly said, "I heard this morning that it was Leela Daniels owes a white star, and he has to pay him some outrageous amount of money. He has to pay him millions." So he does owe a white person some money. And how much you want to bet that he's gonna pay that white person first? He supposed to said I owe him $2 million. Shoot, I don't owe nobody nothing. And it's not like Dame Dash came up to Lee Daniels the next week saying, "So you got my $2 million," after he gave him the $2 million. He probably was like, "Here's the $2 million," because he liked what he saw, like the project that Lee Daniels was working on, and said, "Okay, I'll help you out." Especially since he knew that a lot of big studios probably wouldn't have done it. Oh, without a doubt. A lot of them put their lifestyle before their race. We know that. But it's not like he banged on, like he hit him up for the money the following week. He just said, "Here's a loan, just have it back to me about around this time." And when he saw that Lee Daniels was coming up with Empire and Star and the Butler, he's like, "Oh, he probably has the money now," which he did, and which he still does. I bet he did ignore his phone calls. He probably put him on a block list. I will agree with that. I am greatness. Monique should not allow her husband to handle her business, because it seems like when he gets involved, it becomes like a gray area. That's one thing where a lot of people do not like to hire family members as personal assistants or managers and stuff like that, because it's a conflict of interest. Like, it's like, you are my family member, my relative, but then you're also the person who handles my business, and that can be conflicting. So I do agree with you on that one. Oh, I want to tell y'all something funny. How about I was on Twitter a couple days ago, and there was a trending topic, and it was pretty high up, called white extinction anxiety. I didn't even bother to click on that thing. I just laughed so hard at just the title of it. I said, white extinction anxiety. I said, first off, well, thanks for acknowledging something we already knew, but the fact that it was actually trending made it even better and made it even funny. White extinction anxiety. Let's just put it this way. You will never see a trending topic that says black extinction anxiety, because we ain't going nowhere. We gonna be here forever and ever and ever. Meanwhile, on the other side, y'all are on borrowed time, and the clock is ticking. It wasn't really so much an article to go that was with it or anything like that. But here's the funny thing. You'll have a lot of white people who claim they're so superior and everything like that, tell us about ourselves and peddle all these fake and false stats. But then when you have stuff like that pop up, they try to their best to ignore it. And you know what? That white extinction anxiety, that's a combination of many things that has been going on with them for a while now. Of course, the obvious opioid plague. We got their sunburn balls. We have their suicide rates. We got their low birth rates. Their deaths of despair. I've always told Lisa Cabrera, whenever she does the videos about them deaths of despair, and I often see them sometimes in, like, maybe in an article somewhere, I always think of her because she always does them videos. I laugh so hard just at that title, because it's like they try to sensationalize something negative for them to make people feel sorry for them. I don't feel sorry for them. This is karma right here. This is how it works. Their time is pretty much up. They are on borrowed time. Oh, Philip Reinhardt. Yeah, I know she's been covering the opioid crisis. That's become her specialty. Like I said in many of my videos, before Lisa started making videos, she used to always send me emails about a lot of different opioid type topics. And I said, you know what, Lisa, I said, I can tell you have a real passion for these type of topics. Why don't you make a YouTube channel and talk about them? I'll even give you a boost and have people come to your channel, because a lot of people always used to hear her name because I always shouted her out in the videos. They was like, who is this Lisa Cabrera that's always sending you topics? And right then and there, that's how she started to get a fan base before she even really started a channel, was off of her sending me emails. And now everybody knows who she is. Exactly, Isaiah. It's their fault. See, a lot of the stuff that's happening is their fault. It's self-conflicting, but they'll have you to believe it's someone else's fault. Just like I posted on Twitter today. I said, do you want to know why a mass majority of white people will not acknowledge the opioid plague? It's because it's one of the few things that they can't blame on black people. Because they love to blame a lot of stuff on us that's somehow our fault, or they'll find a way to squeeze us into the fray and say it is our fault. No, it's not. Bitter Truth Show, you missed quite a bit. You said white people aren't of the humankind, they're kind of human. Even that's debatable. And it's like they have so many issues going on with them. It's just crazy. I'll never forget one time I was in the airport and I had saw this white person who had a bad sunburn, because you know a lot of them can't tan, they get burned, so their body turns like this red color. It's almost like the color of red Kool-Aid, and it's very weird looking. They look like raw meat, like raw steak. I can understand BTS because you was on that hangout last night. But yeah, white extinction anxiety, they should be scared. But the thing is, the reason why they're scared is because they know there's absolutely nothing they can do to stop it. They are at the end. They've done so much self-preservation for so long. There's nothing that they can really do at this point. It's over. I forgot what video I had did where it was talking about like the blacking or the browning of America and stuff like that, or how Harvard last year, for the first time ever, their incoming freshman class was a majority people of color, quote unquote, incoming freshman class, and the low end was white people. I think BGS uploaded the re-uploaded the stream onto his channel. He had to edit it. I'm gonna go back and rewatch it too, because I ended up falling asleep on the for those of y'all who didn't catch it, I was on BGS's live stream last night, and I only was able to survive about a good 2 hours. For those of you who are not familiar with BGS, he has like an 8-hour plus live stream every Saturday night that usually starts at like 11 o'clock and runs all the way to like 6 something in the morning. Like you can be on there right there at 11, go to sleep, wake up, and they're still going at it. I only lasted about a good 2 hours and I fell asleep, and I failed to mute myself or take myself off. So I hope the people that was on the panel did not hear me snore, and I hope that I wasn't snoring. I hope if I was, hopefully that gets edited out, because I still had the I think I still have my earbuds in, and if you have your earbuds in, it picks up everything. The name, hold on, I'll type it in the chat. He was actually in the stream earlier. And speaking of white people now really feeling something, so they are happy that the Mexicans are getting deported or sent back over the border. But Lisa has done a video talking about how a lot of white farm owners or land owners or whatever, they're losing their employees because many of them probably going to end up getting sent back over the border. See, they have no problem hiring illegal immigrants to do work for them, but it's a problem if they get comfortable and want to do for themselves outside of that parameter. So I'm like, Well, now that you're losing your hand, your helping hand, what are you going to do? Because we know you ain't going to go out there and sacrifice that tainted skin in that sun. So who you going to hire to do your work for you? Because if you don't do it, all your crops is going to die, and if they die, you're going to lose money. I don't know black people that would even want to work for those white farmers, because for me that would almost be almost equivalent to slavery. And I wouldn't be surprised. Remember, it was a restaurant owner or manager or whatever that kept a black man as his own personal slave in that restaurant for months. I had talked about that a couple months ago, and he did plead guilty to his crime. I said for a group of people that so-called created so much, they should create something to pick their fruit or their crop. They thought, Crystal, that they were. They've been lied to. They've been told that they're superior, but they're not. They never have been, to be quite honest. I'm envisioning in my mind right now, maybe y'all can envision with me, a white person or white people picking their own cotton. A white person, a white people growing their own crops. Right, Lala Papa, a lot of black farmers got their farms stolen from them from white people. And a lot of those white people who own these farms now are operating on something that black people already started. See, they always love to come in and interrupt when a black person has started something or are almost done or completely finished. And then they come and find a way to snatch it from right up under them and claim it for themselves. Remove the deed under their name and put their name on a new one and say, boom, it's mine. That's why they don't know how to do shit, because they didn't do it themselves to begin with. It's a lot of black farmers who have lost a lot of land and a lot of money and a lot of wealth, because there's wealth in land. They lost a lot of it because white people stole it. Perfect example, Richard Spencer's family. I talked about this a couple months ago, where it came out that his family had stole land that was owned by black people. That was, I think, I think at the time, like $2 million worth of land that was stolen from a black person. I think at that time, well, not at that time, but years before. They take stuff like that because they don't want to compete with others, especially us. And I think they started to see that when Black Wall Street was a topic of discussion. They saw that black people at that time who were just fresh off of the cotton fields and out of chattel slavery were doing well for themselves without them. They want us to rely on them so badly that it kills them when we don't. And if you didn't, and this is how they did it. If they didn't come in and take your land by asking you, in their form of asking you, and you denied them because they don't like being told no, they would leave and come back and they would kill you and then take the land. In their way, in their eyes, they were going to get that land one way or another. They was going to either ask you for it, you would willingly give it up, or you would say no, and they will come back and get it from you involuntarily. You're right, Alyssa X. That's the only thing it was missing. It was missing black enforcement or black military. That's one thing that it was missing. I think if they had that, they would have had a fighting chance to survive. That's unfortunate action that some of our own don't know about black farmers, but I think a lot of people are slowly getting into it because there is this how can I put it, this little garden that is around, not probably a little bit around the corner from me, that I believe was started by some black people, and they kind of keep it fenced off, and it's like right behind it's right beside it's in between a beauty supply store and a McDonald's, but it's like right back in the cut somewhere, and it was actually highlighted on the news a few weeks ago. And it's like I can never miss it because I go past it all the time. But there's actually quite a few people who are getting into growing their own crops, growing their own plants, even if it's in their own backyard. You got to start somewhere. You got to start small before you grow into something more massive. But there's definitely money in land ownership. If you own the land, anything that gets built on it, whether it's under your name or not, you still get paid for that. So just imagine if black people got their 40 acres and their mule. We would be very well off today if we maintained it, of course. That's why I applaud people like Slim Thug. He has land down in Texas where he put homes on those lands. He literally bought the block. So he got into real estate. He said that's actually what he's always wanted to do. And the way he funded that was through a rap career. That's why he doesn't rap anymore, because now he's doing what he really wants to do, which is real estate. And that's where the money is. And now he owns land down in Texas. I forgot which part of Texas it is. But he owns land mass down there, and he has a few homes down there. I think a couple of businesses too. Right, Mike Jones as well. He was another one who used his rap career to fund what he really wanted to do, which actually will accrue more wealth than rap could ever do. Thanks, Kingston, Houston, Texas. You see, so thing is, he still raps, but now he can probably rap as a hobby. Both, Crystal. Thanks, Creed, man. I was thinking of Chameleonaire, but I couldn't think. I wasn't sure if it was him or somebody else. That's why I didn't say it. But yeah, Chameleonaire is another one. He used his rap career to fund what it was that he really wanted to do that would gain him more wealth than rap could. But notice that you don't really ever hear about any of these guys. Like, they've remained really low key and out of the spotlight for years. It took for them to put something on the internet for me to even acknowledge them. Right, son. You said in the tech industry. That STEM program, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, there's a lot of money to be made in that department. That's why I said when I was in college, that department used to be the most funded department out of any school on the campus. We always used to wonder why, but now when you look out into the world today and see all the advancement from that, it really comes from that department. So that now I can see why that department was always heavily funded, because they knew that's where the money would be made. It was one last thing. It was something that one of my Facebook friends had sent me. And this is gonna probably be the last thing I show or last thing I not so much talk about, but it's really actually show. But one of my Facebook friends has sent me this video of this little girl, I think at some kind of school or a talent show, where she was singing, and I think she couldn't be no older than 10. And she was singing "If You Only Knew" by Patti LaBelle. And I listened to it on my way home, like listened to the girl sing in the video, and was completely blown away. So I'm going to actually play that because I want y'all to see this girl sing this song as young as she is and hit all these notes like perfectly. Let me see if I can pull it up. When I heard that earlier today, I said I'm definitely going to share this with with the chat. And even though people were cheering for her, and like rightfully so, her voice was able to still overpower them cheering. I said this girl can't be no older than 10 sounding like that. And everybody knows that trying to sing a Patti LaBelle song, and that's any song by her, is not easy to do, especially when you hit them high notes like that. Right, Dolly said they have to hide her from Hollywood because you know they're gonna come and knocking. But I wonder if Patty saw this. Hopefully she did. Y'all are crazy in the comments saying that that it's like gonna be some white person calling the cops on her because she sing really good. What's up, JMJ 2121? But yeah, y'all, that was actually the last thing that I had wanted to send to y'all. I said I wanted to end this stream on a high note, pun intended, high note. But yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed it. I know it's a bit short, but there's always next Sunday or the next time I do a stream, whenever that'll be. But of course, if y'all haven't checked out the PayPal or the Patreon link, those are right there on the side in the description. There will be, of course, more videos coming. I have one video. It's like one video I could have talked about it in this live stream, but I said I'll wait for y'all to actually watch it. I have to actually record some more videos too. But I'm glad y'all were all able to come in. Cruelty said TVA put me in tune. Well, I'm glad that you're here. There's more to come. Trust me. But yeah, I will talk to you all later.